Hello, everyone. Welcome to another live episode. It's live with me. I just did this. I just did 40 minutes of this on Facebook Live, and the damn internet kept going in and out for some reason on Facebook. So I'm going to do it again. So this is for you. That is why we're here. Okay. If you have any questions, you have any comments, drop them. I will try. This is why we don't use this streaming service a lot, because it's hard to see the comments. So Facebook Live is much better for that, but our streaming platform is better for everything else. So we're going to do it this way. I'll check my phone every once in a while, and I'll check the group. So if you have any comments, drop them below. Hope you're having a fantastic day today. It should be easier for me. I just did this. We're going to be talking about a couple of things. We're going to be talking about inner and outer world. Somebody asked today, how do I connect those? Because I talked about it yesterday. We live in two worlds. Well, how do you connect them? Well, they're already connected, but I'm going to tell you how you can use that to your advantage. Okay. So we're going to talk about that today. I'm also going to be giving you 6 steps you can use right now to transform your life. Most people, that's the number one question we receive. How do I change my life? I'm sick of this. How do I change my life? How do I transform? So I'm going to give you some tips you can do right now. You don't have to wait for the right time, the right moment. That'll never come. Do it now. So I have some tips on that. I'm also going to talk about the blame game, because we hear from a lot of people, and you can tell them pretty quickly, you're reading the messages, that have excuses for everything. They play the blame game. It wasn't my fault. It was his fault. My parents raised me this way. So you got to break that. You got to break that cycle of always blaming someone else. So we're going to talk about that. And then I'm going to do a quick guided meditation at the end. And I probably should write myself a note so I don't forget to do that. Because even though I'm a mind power expert, and I've spent 30 years touring the world teaching people about the mind, sometimes mine gets me. So I will do that. So I remember. All right. So I hope you're having a great day out there. I'm here in Ohio. It is right now. We are live. It's 4:48 p.m. And again, questions or comments, drop them into the box underneath this video. If you're watching this as a replay, thank you, first of all. Make sure you like it, you share it. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's so important. Engagement is everything. We're not trying to sell you anything. We want this knowledge to get out there. We want people to have these tools. This is how we really make lasting change in the world. We change ourselves, and the people around us see it, and then they change, and it goes down the line like that. We expand this awareness, this consciousness. All right. So I'm going to discuss, first of all, 3 things that you can do to help connect those worlds, the inner and the outer world. So I talked about it yesterday, and whether you saw the video or not, it's down there. It's down there in the group a little farther. But I'll cover the topic real quick. It's the idea and the fact that we live in 2 worlds. And we live in 2 worlds simultaneously. We're living in the inner world, which is, thoughts and ideas, emotions and beliefs. And we're living in the outer world, which is situation, circumstances, and physical matter, right? The things that happen to us, physical reality. That's the inner world, the outer world. And our inner reality is always our primary. Most people think the outer world reality is out there. That's the secondary reality. For you, for me, for everyone, reality, your inner world is reality number 1. Your inner world is everything that happens inside you. And these 2 worlds are connected. And we know that. They influence each other. I talked about it yesterday. Somebody could walk up to you at a party and say, "Are you sick? You look horrible." And you take that in. That's somebody said that to you in the outer world. You take it in. You roll it around inside. You get upset. And even if 49 people told you look stunning and 1 person said that, you're going to stick on that. You're going to be stuck. You're going to be fixated on that, right? When something happens to us in the outer world, we react in our inner world, right? So say you get fired at your job, right? That's a situation that's happening in the outer world. Well, you react by becoming sad, and you're not motivated. You get angry, you get stressed. Those are your reactions in your inner world. So let's flip it, right? What if you win the lottery, or you get a promotion at work or something? Those are situations happening in the outer world. Well, then you react by becoming excited and content and successful. Those are reactions in your inner world. The problem is most people are dominated by their outer world. And that affects how they feel on the inside, and that affects and determines how they're going to act. Letting your outer world control your action robs you of your innate inner power to create your own reality. It takes away your power to be in control of your actions, and you're not able to choose how things make you feel. You're allowing someone else to have that power, something else to have that power. Challenges and circumstances from your outer world can crush the inner. It can cause you to delay your progress with fear and anxiety and stress and procrastination and other similar things. But learning to focus on your inner world so that you can choose your reactions will set you apart, will give you that edge. So how do you do it? How do you align the inner and the outer worlds? Well, first of all, you have to recognize that you have the power to control your thoughts. That's number one, because until you believe that, you're never going to be able to do it. And that may mean making space for whatever the item is in your life. It could be physically cleaning out something, it could be mentally doing something, believing that you deserve it, knowing that you deserve it. You have to believe and recognize that you are in control. The mind is not a crazy monkey in a cage that you can't control. You're the boss. You're the lion tamer with the chair and the whip. And the mind can be tamed. Trust me. If anyone can tell you this, it's me. I spent years trying. And it wasn't until 10 years ago that everything changed. All my life, I've been meditating. I've been using affirmations, visualizations. I've been learning about the mind and teaching it from the most successful people in the world, actors, actresses, politicians, CEOs, monks. I've spent time doing and learning so many things, knowing what works, what doesn't, seeing what works for my clients, what doesn't. And I can tell you, you have to know before you start anything that you can do it, that you deserve it. So many of us walk around with this bullshit idea that somebody else deserves it and we don't. That's bullshit. You deserve it. If anybody's ever done it, you can do it. Your thoughts are a huge part of your inner world. And if you have the power to control them, guess what you control? You control that inner world. And what does that do? It influences the outer world. And when you do this, you're creating space between the consciousness that's overseeing everything and you. You are the driver. This body is the car. And when you create space, it allows you as consciousness to sit back and allow what happens to unfold. And then you're working from a base of power. You're solving the problem. You're not all crazy minded. You're not sucked into an argument. You are solid and standing solid and able to deal with it much, much better. Because in life, we're always going to experience situations, good and bad. Taking control of your mind does not mean that all of a sudden you never have bad things. People still die, accidents still happen. But having the power to choose gives you the power to choose how you react. And that's everything. It gives you space. And what could only be a few moments seems much longer. Everything moves in slow motion. You're in the zone. You're not dealing from an area of irrationality. You're able to be level-headed about it, right? You can choose how things affect you. In fact, you're the only person that can. Nobody's words can do anything to you. I always tell this story. It's a Michael Singer story, but I love this. And he gives you an example. Here's an example. Okay. So you read a story in the newspaper, your local newspaper, that there's this 1943 penny minted in Denver that's worth $2 million. It's something's misprinted on it. It's supposed to be super rare. It's worth $2 million. And it's somewhere in your city, they think. What's going to happen to you now? You are going to be penny obsessed. You're going to be looking at every penny that you get. You're going to be asking for your change all in pennies. Can I have my change? It's 97 cents. I don't care. Give it to me in pennies. You're looking at every single penny. And then what happens? One day, look in your hand, you see a penny, and you see the date, and you see 1943, and then all of that life force energy rushes up inside you. You know the feeling when you've gotten a new car, the feeling when you kissed the girl of your dreams, the whatever it is, that rush comes through you. All that energy, that overwhelming, I can do anything feeling comes over you. And then you look and you see it wasn't minted in Denver, it was minted in Philadelphia. And now depression crashes over you. Did this penny do that? No, there's no penny in the history of the world that could make you feel that way. You decided to do it. So that means you have the power to uncork the bottle, so to speak. The energy is running through us. This God-given, universal, eternal power. And as we're kids, we have it. We're running around, we're playing, we're pretending we're firemen, princesses, superheroes, whatever. Everything is amazing. The world, there's nothing we can't do. And then it starts. Parents want you to do things, friends, peer pressure, go to school, they put you in desks, they want you to conform, be like everyone else. You know, everything's regimented. They beat it out of you. But when you're a kid, you've got that amazing childlike wonder. You understand, right? That you grant the power. But what happens? You know, we start connecting our ego to things. You know, you take a kid's toy away and he starts screaming and crying because he's connected that toy to his ego. It's like you're taking, you know, it's him. It's his toy. That's what we do. We put our ego in things, cars and houses and beautiful people that we want to go out with, whatever it is. No one can tell you what to think. No one can tell you what to feel. And when you take that power back, it's incredible because you allow people to hurt you. You allow it and you can stop it. You can create any thought. You can change your reality. And if you don't understand that your thoughts are powerful, man, you got to rethink it. Your thoughts are one of the most powerful forces in the universe. Thoughts are energy, and energy has immense power. So if you're thinking something over and over and over again, we think 60,000 thoughts a day. That's one thing. But as soon as you add emotion to it, it becomes supercharged. And that's when you can start to manifest both good and bad, because you've now created the feeling, right? Everything springs from that area, the unified field, but everything comes from that. Everything that we've ever made, ever will make. But you are in control. You can create your thoughts. No one can take that from you. You hear of prisoners who have gone through this type of work and they are in prison for life. And they say they are freer than they were on the outside because their mind is free. That's why you see people that have everything kill themselves. They've got, you know, gorgeous spouse, all the money in the world, you know, successful, kill herself. Right? Think about it. Kate Spade, Anthony Bourdain. You choose the thoughts because somebody that commits suicide, it's so bad that your mind has told you to kill yourself and finally you've done it. That's what it is. Nobody has ever committed suicide. People have died accidentally, but nobody's ever committed suicide without their mind telling them to do it. Think about it. So your mind can be your best friend. It can be your worst enemy. I mean, take the time to make your mind your friend and not your jailer, not the warden of your mental prison. You understand thoughts are powerful. They have energy. Everything in the universe is energy. I am, you are, the desk is, everything. It's vibrating waves of energy and they're all powerful. You got to be careful what you do when you add emotion to your thoughts. Most of the time it's the negative, worrying about something, right? Though that's what you're putting out. That's what you're getting back. You got to make these shifts. It's all about little shifts. You know, I've been all over the world. You don't have to go to Egypt. You don't have to go sit cross-legged on a mountaintop in India or something to be enlightened, to be awakened. It's really a 6-inch journey. It's between these two ears for all of us. Okay? If you don't like your reality out there, then change it. You are the cause of everything that happens to you. I know people hate this. You don't know my past. You don't know what happened. What person would ask for this? I get it. But at this point, you accept where you are. You take responsibility and you let go of the shit that no longer serves you. We have clients that are, I'm still mad at my mother. She died 10 years ago, right? She's on to another life and you're out here holding this anger. It's only ruining you. So that freedom is not for them. That freedom is for you. And that's what this is all about, is freedom, right? Because if you don't have money to pay your bills and take care of your family, you're enslaved to a job. There's no freedom there. Financial freedom. If you're in a relationship that's abusive or controlling, there's no freedom there. If you're in a job that you're working 60 hours a week that you hate, and in the few hours you get off, you're doing the one thing you're passionate about, what are you doing, right? You can make the decision. If you don't like outer reality, you change the inner reality, and it will influence your reactions and the things that happen. And thus the outer world changes. So you got to be very aware of the cause and effect that happens in our worlds. Lack of meaning in one's life is what kills people, both metaphorically and literally speaking. Connecting the dots is how you create meaning for yourself. Asking yourself, why am I feeling this way? Why am I afraid? What happened to me? Our inner and outer worlds are deeply connected. There is a constant back and forth, a constant flow between the two. How you feel influences how you see things. When you're feeling great, a lot of minor irritations seem major. You ever do that where you get a tiny cut on your hand or something, and then maybe you get salt in it or something? So it's a tiny, tiny wound. I mean, you wouldn't even put a Band-Aid on it. But you've gotten something in there, and now it hurts so bad. And everything in your body, from your consciousness, everything is in that spot, goes right there, right? So when you feel bad, it's the same thing. A little off emotionally can seem major. We all go through different things. And if you're an entertainer or an entrepreneur or somebody creative, somebody who's driven, you'll experience failure and challenges in your journey, but you develop this power to control and be in touch with your inner world. It's going to help you choose the things worth worrying about. Deciding, do I want to deal with this or do I want peace in my life? Peace almost always wins. Is this worth worrying about? Is this worth overcoming, the challenges? Think of a small change that you can do right now in your inner world that would make positive outcome in the outer. Anything you can do, anything that is working towards your goal is success. Don't get caught up in the outer world. We get pulled into that game. Pay attention to the inner first. Remember, it's always your first reality. Okay? Let me look at the group. Again, this one is not going through Facebook Live, so it's probably not going to be as easy as the other, but let me check. If you have something, if you have a comment, a question, something like that, drop it in the comments, okay? I'm gonna pin this to the top of the page so it's there, okay? So I want to go in now to changing your life, because that's the number one question people ask. People that haven't worked with us before, or people that don't know, that want to change, how do I do it? It sounds so overwhelming, especially when you think the internet is amazing. It connects us all over the world. The problem is everybody is an expert, Everybody tells you one thing and everyone else tells you another, and it's impossible to know who to follow, what to do, and how it works. You need tools that work. You need people that have done it. You don't need people that have read books about it or taken courses on it. You want people that lived it, for decades. When you get in control of your mind, it not only gives you an edge over everyone else, not that we're in competition, but it puts you in a place where you're so much better able to deal with everything. So I'm going to talk about changing your life, but I'm going to talk about all of it. I'm going to talk about the courage it takes, the risks that you have to take, and the rewards. Because life can be difficult and life can be uncertain, especially when we're faced with change. People don't like it. I get it. But you're standing at the doorway of your new life, okay? You've got a key in your hand to that door. That key is change because it's going to positively alter the path of our lives. But we hide it. We stay away from it because we're afraid. Fear overcomes us. Fear of leaving behind our comfort zones and entering the unknown. This fear robs us of our freedom. Our freedom. No matter what it is. I just said financial, relationship, whatever it is. Fear robs us of freedom because we can't make the choices that we want to make. We can't make life choices that help us bridge the gap. Again, all you've got to do is get from where you are to where you want to be. It's closing that gap a little bit at a time. We're all on this journey. If you're in this group, if you're watching this training, you want to make change. So you are on the path already. So you've succeeded in part A. You've got to now close the gap between where you're standing and where you want to be. That's all we got to do. It's not some great mathematical, universal algebra that we've got to figure out, some kind of secret message that's hidden in the stars. You just do it. Fear is a dream killer in our lives. So it's going to take courage to move from the unknown. It's much easier to stay in the same situation, even if it's painful. People stay in the same situation year after year just because, even though change would be better maybe, right? And it hurts them, the pain is almost comfortable. They're used to it, but change is scary. So the first thing you need to do if you want to make permanent change, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it, you'll notice everything that we talk about here and we post, this is created, cultivated for you, and it's done for a reason. Somebody asked the other day, why did you ask this question? Everything in this group, these aren't just things we throw up. These are things that are cultivated. You're supposed to see this now. You can understand this more now because of what we taught you yesterday. This group, this community, this family, that's why we're here. So there's no sugarcoating. If you want to change your life, okay, you have to agree, believe that you deserve that new life. And you do. Trust me, you do. All of the other crap is programming from when you were a child. Our subconscious mind is programmed in the first 10 years of our lives. It's it's like a tape recorder. Somebody's just hit the record and it's running, it's recording those first 10 years. So think about you whenever you were a kid, right? You weren't logical, you weren't mature, yet that is the tape that is running in your mind now, right? So as a 45-year-old person, the tape that was made when you were 8 is not doing you any favors. You weren't logical, you weren't mature, and everything that hurt you then, you're not good enough, you're not thin enough, I can't do that because people that have money are evil, whatever. Those thoughts create our belief pattern. And that becomes almost impossible to change unless you know how to get in there. Because what happens is you're working on the surface level mind. Positive thinking, and I'm doing this and that. Those are great. And we that is part of what we do too. But you have to get to the subconscious, not the outer mind, because it's just like putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot. It's not going to do anything. You've got to get into the subconscious. That is where the rusty, out-of-date programming is. So think about when you're a kid, the things that your family would say, coaches, teachers, friends, parents of friends, the media, movies that you've watched, whatever it is, that shapes you as a person. And then at 10, the tape stops. And now, for the rest of your life, anytime you slip onto autopilot, you're driving in the car and you're thinking about what you're going to do later, right? Now, you are living not in the moment. You're either in the past or the future, right? You're thinking about what you want to happen tonight, or you're worried about something you did yesterday. You're no longer in the moment. So you have to realize it takes a little bit of work here, right? So the first thing you got to do is you got to be honest with yourself. I'm here with you, but I don't know if you're being honest. That's your decision. So be honest with yourself. Stop lying to yourself. That'll change a lot of things right away. You know, if you're unhappy in a lot of areas of your life, guess what change does? Nothing. It doesn't do anything to, not change. What does complaining do? Nothing. Complaining does nothing to bring about any kind of change. So ask yourself, are you playing the victim? Some people make their whole life about that. You know, if you've chosen to stay stuck where you are right now because of fear, then the change you need is never going to appear. Not on its own. Be honest with yourself. Identify the excuses and the rationale that have been keeping your life as is. Why are you stuck in the quicksand of life? Take responsibility for it. Stop blaming everyone else. We're going to talk about this in a minute, how to quit the blame game. I'm going to touch it briefly on it here. But you got to take responsibility because only you can change you. Motivation has to come from within. And I don't care what anyone says. So the mother who's, overweight and she's dieting because her son came up to her and said, I don't want you to die. Please go on a diet. So she's dieting. That may have been the thing that tipped the scale, but she had to do it. That was the thing, just the little bit that tipped the scale and gave her the motivation to do it. But the son didn't do it. She did it. There are many people there. You're always giving away your glory to someone else. You do something great and you're always giving it to a middleman, Take responsibility for the good and the bad, where you are. Motivation comes from inside. Take responsibility and look at your life. Really look and see, why are you imprisoned? What has kept you locked away from your potential? So many people, we're all born, with the same supercomputer. None of us have the manual. Some people use it to become billionaires and change the world. Some people use it and become drug addicts. What is the thing? What is the difference? What makes one person different than another? Take responsibility for where you are now. Let go of what no longer serves you. Work on that. Don't blame your own refusal to make changes based on the outer world, on external things. Because when you do this, you're giving your power, you're giving the overall responsibility to things that you can't control. Right? Like saying, I would have realized more of my potential, but no one ever mentored me, is a great excuse. Or I would have turned out better, but my mom was an alcoholic and my dad ran away. Whatever it is, and I get it. But those are excuses. It's like when you either do the job or you don't. If you ask somebody to do something and they come in Monday and they say, did you do the work? Well, no, my son had whooping cough and my wife got in a car, and it goes on and on and on. But it comes down to you didn't do it. You put it off until then things happen, whatever, but you didn't do it. So be honest with yourself. That's all you got to do. It's very easy, but super hard. Because our masks that we hide behind, we're even hiding from ourselves most of the time. So what else do you need to do? Well, you need to accept risk, because nothing worthwhile has ever happened without it. That old saying, it's the truth. Risk. It's just before everything that you want. Just on the other side of that fear is everything that you want. So accept the risk. Understand everything is risky. Doing anything, walking across the street is risky. Change is a fact of life. Everything that you know will not be here at some point. Accept it. If you live your whole life afraid of death, you're not living. You're just dying slowly. Accept it. Everything around you, I don't care the chair you're sitting in, you, your kids, your dog, your house, the tree, everything at some point will not be here anymore. And when you accept that, it takes a huge amount of pressure away. It means you can take a risk. Because wouldn't life be boring without risk? Who would go to see a football game or something? If you knew the outcome before you went, you wouldn't. it makes the story of your life more thrilling. It makes the movie of your life. You're directing this thing, right? It's those high action chase scenes of life, right? The riskiest step is always the first. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Martin Luther King, just take the first step. You take that step in faith. You take that step in belief. And faith somehow has been wrapped in religion, but faith is older than that. Religion, spirituality is a round table. No one sits at the head. Spirituality, everyone, we're all connected. We are one. Religion is fantastic, but in that, there is someone at the head of the table. There's someone else. This is you. You take responsibility for you. You don't worry about everybody else. You don't worry about trying to push your beliefs on anyone else. You take care of you. And when you do that, the people around you start to change too. Change happens, whether you like it or not. The first step in the right direction is success. If you are moving towards your goal, you're successful. And you know what else? Your courage muscles get stronger. We've got this mental gym. It's like the mental Bowflex up there, right? Many people go to the physical gym. Not me lately, but many people do. And in that, you're working out your body and, unbelievable. But again, the body's just your car. And it's great to have a beautiful car. It's great to have your car running at prime, peak performance. But you got to remember, you're the driver. So you can't put all your effort and energy into the car and then, you not take care of yourself, because then the driver's going to die and the car is going to, crash somewhere if the driver dies. So remember that. It's mind, body, spirit for a reason. It's all three. When you invest too much of your time and effort and emotion into one area, and you throw that triangle off kilter. Risk leads to growth. It does, no matter what. Growth always involves risk, and risk always involves fear. And unfortunately, some people wait around. They have to have an ironclad guarantee that everything will work out for them exactly right, until every obstacle is removed, so they won't do it. And then they just stagnate where they are. Don't wait on the sidelines while the world passes you by. You can be in the stands or you can be on the field. You got to be in one or the other. So do you want to be in the audience cheering with everyone else, or do you want to be down on the field making it happen? You got to take risks. Growth doesn't happen without it. So what do? Focus on your priorities. Value your needs. Many busy people spend their time, all their time and their effort and their energy meeting the needs of other people. Is that you? Are you a people pleaser? So many people are. And then finally one day, they have the breakdown, and it's over something stupid. Your husband left his socks on the floor. It wasn't that did it. It was the last straw that broke the camel's back. When you're a people pleaser and you give everything to everyone else and don't leave anything for you, it's a recipe for misery. Okay? You have to have a focused priority on yourself. And if you don't, you will become molded by your environment. And you're allowing other people to have their hands in your clay. You're letting them create your statue, right? That is going to give you a stagnated life, right? So value your time. Don't play the when-then game. Don't tell yourself, when my kids are grown, then I'll spend time with myself. When I feel like I can make a difference, I'll look for a new job. Bullshit. Sometimes we wait our entire lives for a when that never comes. Value time and don't assume you have forever to take a risk and make a change. That can excel your life in new directions right now. Now, I'm in Ohio now, but I also live in California, and I've lived in Palm Springs. I've lived in Hollywood. And Hollywood, California is one of the most superficial places ever. Everything's all about the look, plastic surgery, what you look like, right? And so many people are afraid of aging. And it's no wonder in our society today that's telling young girls from the moment they can comprehend that they need to be this weight and look this way, and Instagram and all these influencers. And no one wants to age. So you see, that struggle, especially with females. But worrying about growing older is a waste of time. And I'm going to tell you how a little flip, again, these are all small flips that you can do, right? You celebrate the knowledge that aging brings. It brings you insight and personal growth. And that only gets intensified through experience. So I want you to think about it like this. You're not aging. You're evolving. Remember, you're not aging. You're evolving. Because evolving changes everything. It changes your focus from fearing a loss to celebrating an accomplishment. Think about it. You've just flipped the script. What you've learned throughout your entire life, it's there to guide you. There are reasons. And it can enlighten your current and your future generations. Break that generational curse that has, my dad, the dad before that. There are so many things. You're not aging, you're evolving. You're becoming you 2.0. Having an evolving attitude inspires authority to renew yourself and make whatever changes you need that's going to lead to that renewal. It's just a renewal of you. It's getting back to the real you. It's getting back to the you that was happy, the you that felt joy, the you that had passion, the you that cared about life, the you that cared about what was happening to other people. It's not you and them, us versus them. It's us as one. Things that divide us, they're that way they're meant to divide us. The people in control don't want everyone else to realize the immense power that they have. So remember, you're not aging, you're evolving. And connecting with others, and connecting with a larger perspective, aging can bring worries about health and loneliness and isolation, but connection brings strength when we feel weak. Positive relationships encourage and bring courage to make new and better decisions throughout your life, throughout any life transition. Because again, things happen. This doesn't take away bad things from your life. It gives you the ability to handle them. It gives you the ability to change the way you deal with things, and then the outer reality changes. You have the most immense, amazing computer in your head that's the most powerful thing in the universe, and you don't know how to use it. So what else do you need to do? Well, you need to face your fears. You need to face them head on. You got to act before there's a crisis. Most of us wait. We wait for something in the outer world until we can't wait anymore, and then we react, right? What if you acted before the crisis? At its simplest and most benign, fear is an internal warning cry that danger is close, and we better do something about it. Back in the day, we were cavemen, and we're out there hunting and everything, and that fear, we needed that fight or flight response. Am I going to fight this mountain lion, or am I going to run away? It was real because, it was life or death. We don't have that anymore, working in offices, and we don't have that, but we still have that fear. Many times it takes a warning cry, like a marriage failure or a death or some kind of worrisome medical diagnosis to realize we need to make changes. Some people need a cataclysmic event in their life to change. They're pushed to the brink and they change. Some people wake up one morning and realize that there's more. And one person's not better than another. It doesn't matter how you got on your path. It just matters that you're there. Don't wait for a crisis to occur, though, before you have that awakening about the quality and the value of your life. You are worth it. You're worthy. You are important. Begin making changes now, and you'll be more prepared once any crisis has occurred. What we do is we let comfort control us. We do. We get complacent. We would rather snuggle up and watch Netflix with the dog than do something that we need to do. You got to move past comfort, the comfort of fear. Fears are familiar, and therefore they mislead us into thinking that they're just part of us. We ruminate over them. We fear that they'll control us. We fear that the fear will control us. And it causes us to live our lives in a state of constant self-preservation. You're not living, you're existing. You can't notice what's going on around you when you are so in your head. Life isn't a 24-hour-a-day thrill ride, right? You deserve more than just contentment, though. You got to expand your comfort zone. You got to allow opportunities to come. Synchronicities, coincidences will happen, but you got to be open to the opportunity. You got to be aware. You got to be inspired. So think about this. Let's try a little exercise, right? Take one of your fears and what specifically scares you about it? Just name it. What is it that makes you afraid? What is it? Could be speaking in public, my mother-in-law, whatever it is, just name it. Name it out loud. And then I want you to ask yourself, what's the worst thing that could happen to me if I take this risk? If I stand up to my mother-in-law, if I do this, right? Even if I run smack into a wall on my way into this life I'm creating, then at least I've gained some insight and some knowledge that'll help me later. You may even find this knowledge gives you the courage to tackle more risks. One of my favorite lines I posted the other day in the group, it only takes 20 seconds of insane courage to do anything. And then think about it, that moment, 20 seconds. It's all that stands between you and getting what it is that you want. So imagine the worst. What's the worst that would happen if you took that risk? Either way, you're going to get knowledge from it. No matter what the scenario, you'll have gained the power and the influence to decide your own response. But instead of doing that, which is what most people do, they always imagine the worst case scenario. We're off in the future, ruminating over all these horrible things we're afraid is going to happen. What if we started imagining instead the best? Imagine how your life will be different once you initiate this change. Start anticipating the joy and the bliss and the passion and the excitement and the empowerment that comes from being the leader of your own life. Don't be a follower. All you're ever going to see is the back of someone's head that way. You're never going to see the world. So be a leader in your own life. Begin with small steps, but take action. The action step is the step everyone misses when they're doing law of attraction, law of abundance, whatever it is, they're missing the action step. There are no miracles for success or for transformation in life. It's going to take a little time to see the results, but the only instant change you can do right now that you can see today is attitude. Because it'll slowly start putting you in control. You're in charge of the direction and the outcome of your life. So imagine the best. Imagine your best life and then live it. Sounds easy, right? Make a positive change in your life right now, starting today. Start unveiling lies from truth in your life. What can you say to yourself that is positive and uplifting and true? Life can be hard sometimes, but it's not supposed to be a struggle. There are hard things to deal with sometimes, but it's not supposed to beat you down to the point of giving in. You have to learn to control your mind. I want to talk a little bit about the blame game, because that was another question somebody asked, and a lot of people play this too. So, how do you stop winning? How do you stop blaming others so you can win at life? That's what we're going to talk about. Questions or comments, drop them down there. If you're watching this later as a rebroadcast, welcome. Make sure you like, share, you comment, and any questions you have, drop down there. I can cover them next time. I can, if it's something private message me. We're here to help. Okay. So how do you stop blaming others and win at life? Well, we've all heard of the blame game, right? It's that game we play when we're searching for someone to put the blame on, right? Because we're not successful. There's a quote that says, democracy is the process by which people choose the man who'll get the blame. You've got to admire the farsightedness of, that was Bertrand Russell. Today, the practice of blaming others has become a routine activity in our lives. It's become commonplace. We're constantly blaming someone, something, people, circumstances, life, God, whatever. You got to analyze the reasons. Why do we play the blame game? Why is blaming others something that never works? And how do we stop doing it? Well, first of all, why do we do it? It's easier to blame somebody than to take responsibility. We are programmed to run away from blame. The golden rule of the blame game is you'd rather be the blamer than the one that is blamed, right? Of course. So to be blamed is seen as a sign of insult. So as a result, we don't like taking ownership of our mistakes. Instead, we look for somebody else to blame so our self-esteem can stay intact, so our reputation can stay unharmed. It's easy to find faults in others than to look inside, than to go within. You know, that a quote I talked about yesterday, you know, the biggest problem man has is the ability to sit in a room quietly by himself. It's going inside. It's being introspective. It's allowing ourselves to accept our faults and change so we don't make the same mistake again. Mistakes are never a problem. The same mistake over and over again. Some people call that a life. But you've got to realize if you make a mistake once, it's fine. Twice, maybe, you're learning. But if it's happening to you as a pattern in your life, there's a red flag of something you got to look at. Parents find it easier to blame the social circle of their child, the kids, the teachers, you know, their playmates, rather than analyzing what the problem is. It could be at home or, you know, from their parenting, or maybe they don't know the child well enough. They don't spend enough time. So why else do we do it? I covered this already, but we like playing the victim. Some people, they love that. Oh my God, can you imagine? You get to complain and bitch and moan and people feel sorry for you. Oh, it's amazing. Psychology says many people indulge in self-victimization, way more than we know because people don't admit it. When we blame someone else, and not just someone else, something else, the weather, whatever it is, we're avoiding accountability. And being accountable is what we want. We play the victim and we find solace in the fact that whatever wrong has happened in our lives has nothing to do with us. Life is here. We're here. No. We are part of this. It's that false sense of peace of mind. And let me tell you, until you get real peace of mind, I chased it my entire life. But these last several years, to not have anxiety, not have stress, not have the weight on my shoulders, it's incredible. We always like to play the victim. We always like to blame. And this peace of mind is not real. Real peace of mind, you'll know the difference. When you get this, where you're no longer pulled in to the outer world fights and dramas and problems, and you have your own peace, you are able to decide when you are confronted with a situation, is this situation worth my peace? If you realize that it is, then you go into the situation. If it's not, then you don't. You don't have to be right. The biggest problem that we have as human beings, we're as spiritual beings having a human experience. People think they're humans trying to have a spiritual experience. It's the other way around. But part of that problem is we don't realize the immense peace that is inside us, and we look for it outside. The job will make me happy. This person will make me happy. When I get this, I'll be happy. And you're on a hamster wheel for the rest of your life. And everything you want is going to be just outside your grasp. And you're always going to be running after it your whole life. Our world is delusional. And it's that way on purpose. I mean, advertising agencies, the media, governments, worldwide, everybody wants to be right. And it's everyone else that's unfair. We're right, the world is wrong. We're right, the world owes us an apology. The reason behind this delusion is just a lack of courage to man up or woman up. Acknowledge your choice. It's your choice, and face the consequences. That requires balls. I get it. People who indulge in the blame game don't have them. The fear of that keeps them from ever being honest. The next reason, we're liars. We say the truth and risk the wrath of an army of blamers when you lie and you shift blame on somebody else without getting caught. That's why. Why say the truth? Just shift the blame. Smart psychological game that we play. But we know we've screwed up. The first thing we see So think about it. You've just made a mistake. What do? What's the first thing you do? The first thing you do is see if anybody noticed us doing it. Right? And then when the answer to that, nobody was there, is a no, and all we got to do is find somebody else to blame it on. This person, this thing in our life that's called the scapegoat. A scapegoat takes the fall because the blamer is afraid of facing the consequences of their own actions. Another reason that we do this, another reason that we play the blame game, is we expect life to be fair. Life is a roller coaster of ups and downs. That's how life is. That's the fun of this. Whether you believe we're in the Matrix or we're playing a video game where we're down here as spiritual beings, having a human experience, whatever you believe in, life is ups and downs. So trying to control it only makes you miserable. There's nothing fair or unfair about it. That's a frame of mind. That's a creation of yours. We have this distorted idea of fairness. We can't digest anything that is unpleasant. We can't accept when things truly go wrong. So to keep our self-assumed righteousness intact, we choose to blame somebody else for the bad that happens to us. This way, we can stay ignorant of the fact that something bad happened to us. That's probably our fault. But it also gives us the ability to remain infallible inside our heads. We didn't do this. It's not us. And finally, what? Why do we do this? We rationalize every issue. We have a tendency to find logical explanations for everything. When something goes wrong, we want to get to the root of the issue and we want to understand it. Why has it gone wrong? We need a closure to everything. So when an issue is unavoidable and out of our control, it makes us feel overwhelmed. It makes us feel uncomfortable. It makes us feel like we're unable to find closure. That closure comes to us if we get to blame somebody. We work with a mindset where we assume that if there's an issue, then there has to be someone at fault, failing to understand that sometimes unfortunate things happen and there's nothing that we can do about it. So why does blaming others never work? So are you someone who blames others? Because in the end, it's futile because it doesn't work. It makes our life stagnant. It's a fact of life that failure is one of our greatest teachers. And if you remove failure, you're never going to learn. You can't learn to play tennis. You can't go out and be a tennis pro. You can't go learn to play the piano and be a virtuoso the first time you sit down. You have to fail. You have to learn. You have to grow. You have to evolve. We learn from our mistakes when we accept them. And we try to transform ourselves so we don't go down the same path over and over like Groundhog Day. That's the worst torture I can imagine, is reliving the same thing over and over again. We evolve into better versions of ourselves. It's you 2.0. We constantly try to blame others for our failure. And when we do that, we refuse to accept our contribution to that failure. And we avoid taking responsibility for that failure. And what does that mean? It means you don't learn a damn thing from it, right? You don't have to. It's somebody else's fault. We stay in a stagnant state of life. We're in the quicksand of life. There's no progress. So why else does blaming others never work? Well, first of all, it gives others the power to control us. Blaming is basically saying someone else did it and not you. So by blaming others, we let them control our lives. We give them the authority to make us feel whatever they want us to feel. Embarrassed, disappointed, a complete and utter failure. You'd rather take accountability for your mistake, learn your lesson, and guide your life towards the direction you want, rather than blame somebody else for it and then give them the power to shape your life. It also turns you into a victim. The blame game is dangerous. And for you people that play the victim, this is one of the reasons. It transforms you into a person who lacks courage. You can't own up to your mistakes. By blaming others, we become victims in our own heads. We hold external factors responsible for our sad state of affairs in our life. As a result, we become meek. We become underconfident. We have low self-esteem. We lose that spark of optimism and energy that turns things out for the better. And that just pushes us farther into that black hole of hopelessness and negativity. So stop blaming others, grow a spine, and own up to your mistakes. It also makes us, we fail to find solutions when we do this. By investing all our time and energy into coming up with blame for someone else, we fail to find a solution to the problem. We've pretty much taken it off of our shoulders, not mine to worry about. We start analyzing the problem. We find a way to protect our selfish ass from it. And then we see the bigger picture. We see the bigger entity that requires solving. We wait for others to take action as we feel they got to solve the problem since they're responsible for it, right? We put the blame on someone else, so it's off of us. This kind of behavior makes us petty. It makes us self-absorbed. It makes us annoying. To summarize, you got to stop blaming others if you are genuinely seeking a solution to a problem. So what else? What else does it do? Why doesn't it work? Well, it creates pessimistic attitudes and it makes you a pessimist about your life, and that's a horrible thing to be. When we indulge in this game of blame, we hold someone else responsible for our misfortune and our failure. We enter a negative space of mind where we're only thinking about what went wrong, about how circumstances were unfair and how people cheated us and they didn't do the things that they promised. We become bitter about life. We poison ourselves. We drink the poison and poison our lives. We develop this pessimistic vibe all around us. This negative attitude makes us feel isolated, makes us feel like no one who is around us can be trusted. Life sucks. Just my luck. Think of the things that you say to yourself. So what's the next step? How do you stop blaming other people for your problems? Well, it's easy. Take responsibility. We love playing the damsel in distress. We're constantly looking for a savior, a guardian, to relieve us of our suffering. My friends, there is no white knight on a horse galloping your way. You have to be your own savior. You get to save yourself. And it's so much more powerful that way. Now, again, you're not putting it into someone else's arms. When they do it, I will get this. No, you are going to save yourself. This way, somebody else does the hard work for us. So if anything goes wrong, it's someone else who takes the blame, right? Not us. So after all, why take risks and possibly face failure when we just pass the baton of responsibility to someone else? What we don't realize is by giving them the responsibility of our lives, we're giving them the power to control it. This is the reason why gurus, politicians, and religious extremists thrive. We are indirectly serving them our freedom and our liberty on a platter, which they can use or misuse according to their convenience. And the people in charge usually are the worst for having any control over their mind. And the few people that understand how the mind works are using it to control us. What's the point of living a life where everything is controlled by external factors and you aren't in that driver's seat? To avoid this, become responsible. Take responsibility for your actions and your decisions and gain control of your life. Become the creator of your own destiny. Become the architecture of your own dream. Instead of regretting why you let external factors decide your fate, become the author of your story. As a result, you'll stop blaming others and you'll instead focus on how you can change for the better. Well, what else can I do? You can become aware of your blaming behavior. Okay, I'm looking at your comments. Some things are way harder than they sound, though, and things do happen out of our control sometimes, but you can't go wrong. Exactly. Of course. But you can't use those outside things as the reason why you don't even try. That's the problem, right? So many people live in negativity. Right? And affirmations do help, visualization, but taking control of your mind helps everything. You got to get out of the mentality that it is that someone else's fault or that that the past did it to you. And you let it go. You're not forgiving anyone for them. You're forgiving them for yourself is what it is, right? So the primary step is acknowledging that there's a problem to solve, right? There's got to be a problem to solve in the first place. So for us to solve it, so to get rid of a tendency to blame others, we have to become aware of our behavior to blame people. So start making a conscious effort and recognize it, because most of the time we do it unconsciously. And start noticing. The greatest step you can take to awakening is to be more in the present and to be more willing to notice what's really happening. Being on autopilot, you miss so much that's going on. So make an effort to notice that you're blaming someone, and then stop yourself. Take a pause, reflect, make another choice. Become aware of the manner in which you talk to people, and check to see if you're riddled with that blame game, or having the tone of a victim. This awareness will help you stop blaming others. It'll help you get out and escape this vicious cycle of the blame game. Another thing you can do is understand the problem. Most of the time, we blame others due to our inability to understand the problem. How often does that happen? We react to a problem based on the little bit of knowledge we have, the finite knowledge we have, and the preconceived notions about things. When you have a shot glass size consciousness, say, you'll never understand something bigger. You have to start expanding. You can't make decisions always from the knowledge that you have now, because it's finite. It's only what you've done up to this point. So you can't make decisions always from the knowledge that you have. You need to, we function on a fixed set of beliefs. And those beliefs make us overwhelmed. They make us uncomfortable. When the solution to our problem doesn't fall in our lap, it makes us upset, right? So our mind manipulates us, and it does it on a daily basis. I call it our bitchy roommate. You're living with this nonstop voice, and most of the time they're our enemy. If you had a real roommate living with you and that narrated your life and said the things to you that your bitchy roommate says, would you keep them around? Of course you wouldn't. They narrate everything, and even when they're wrong, they'll change their opinion and go completely the other way. We never call them out on it. Oh my God, this is going to happen. Oh God, I just know it. Your girlfriend's supposed to be here at 7. It's now 7:30. She hasn't shown up, and you're getting upset. Now it's 7:45, and you are so mad. And oh my God, this relationship is ridiculous. It's been 2 years, but it's been nothing but problems. It's been nothing but headaches. When she gets here, if she shows up, I'm going to break this relationship. I'm going to get out of this thing, right? 8 o'clock comes, the girlfriend shows up. She's got a takeout dinner for you. She's got, she has some other gift for you. It's your 2-year anniversary. Now you feel like crap. And all that time that you spent, oh my God, and you're literally in your head, you're having the argument. You're having the future argument with yourself. You're doing her part and your part. I'm going to say this, and then she's going to say that, and then I'm going to say this. And you're literally doing that. And then you realize it's all for nothing. And now your mind's going, oh, she's the best person ever. How can I be so lucky to have her? Right? That's what our mind does. Our mind, that voice is just our conditioned past. That voice is just there to try to save us. It thinks it's saving us. It's not prehistoric times. Everything is not fight or flight anymore. So it throws up things from our past and says, this is very similar to what's happening now, especially the negative stuff. Our mind manipulates us. And it does that by rejecting any information that goes against the thought process. It acts as a hindrance. It acts as a block to solving the problem. The key here is to not get emotional about it. Again, when you add emotion to your thought patterns, you start to create belief. And most of us are doing it with our negative thoughts and emotions, and we're getting more of it into our lives. You have to understand why the problem occurred, and then you solve it. But you can't do that when you're looking through gauze, when you are clouded with all this bullshit that's not true. What if you place yourself in their shoes? Life isn't black and white. It's not just right or wrong, good or evil. There are shades of gray. People either sometimes, I used to say they love me or they hate me. There is no gray, but it's not true. You can't please everyone, and you shouldn't even try. But life is not just black or white. When somebody harms you, first of all, remember that, there's something in them. They're showing you their pain there. When they're lashing out, they're showing you. When they harm you or try to harm you, just analyze it. Is it intentional? Is it accidental? Is it a pattern of something they've been doing their whole? Is it a family member you have maybe, and this has been happening your whole life? Many times we lose objectivity of the situation because we are approaching it with a personal bias. That's why we never see true reality, because reality is always filtered through our past. So you're looking at what you think is your reality. Again, outer reality is reality number 2, secondary. But you're never seeing the real life in front of you because it's your wants, your desires, your needs, your likes, your dislikes. That clouds what you see. Place yourself in the shoes of the people that you're talking about here, the people you're going to blame. Be empathetic. See where the other person's coming from. Question yourself. Would I have done anything differently? Right? So they're trying to harm you. You step back. You take that space you're creating and you look at the situation. See where they're coming from. Stand in their shoes. Try to feel the pain from their side of the aisle. Everything isn't always right or wrong, so stop looking for who's wrong. One of our biggest mistakes in life is that we have to be right and they have to be wrong. In order to be right, they have to be wrong. For me to be right, he has to be wrong. Not true. In order for me to have mine, I have to take his, or he can't have his. Not true. That's all just mental constructs that we've created inside of our head. Those are just the mental bars of our prison. We've got the key in our pocket. We can unlock the door. We're sitting there our entire lives, some of us, with the key. The kingdom is inside you. What does that mean? You are responsible for everything. You are the person that can make this change. You can pull the plug out of the spigot of energy you have and let it flow. You've got it in there, so that energy doesn't come out right now. Accept where you are. Everything's not always right or wrong. Sometimes things are just the way they are. You can't do anything about it. Accept it. Take it in stride. Move on. Finally, you've got to take ownership of your mistakes. This is the thing that no one does. It's better to keep your ego aside and own up to your mistakes. Anytime the ego becomes involved, it's never, ever good. Your ego is all the things, your car that you live for, the items in your life, the house, the social circle, the good-looking girlfriend. That is ego. When somebody says something to you, you strike back from ego. It's better to keep your ego aside. It's better to, get rid of as much of that ego as you can. I used to have such a huge ego. Being a performer, that's what we want, obviously. To be on stage and, want people to applaud for us. I mean, that's weird to begin with, right? But ego, I used to think ego was a great thing. It drives you. Ego can only hurt you because shedding your ego allows you to be you. With your ego, you're wearing mask over mask over mask, and you're never yourself. And you're not yourself with other people, but you're not yourself alone either. You don't even see the real you. So put your ego aside. Gives you a clear conscience, right? When you do that. Excess ego can only harm. Excess ego can only kill relationships. It can only kill passion. Admitting your fault won't make you a smaller person. It enhances your image as a person, actually, because you're taking charge of the situation. And you have the courage to learn from your mistakes. And then move on. Again, don't keep living it over and over. Take ownership of your mistakes. And it helps us build trust. It helps people build trust in us. It helps us build trust in ourselves. It lets people respect us and our thoughts and our views and our beliefs as an individual, as a leader, not as a follower, not as somebody who follows the crowd and who blindly just, reacts to whatever's placed in front of them. Embrace your mistakes and ask yourself if you've learned a lesson from it. Because if you have, then you're successful. And next time, that's one less mistake that you can make. The options have now become smaller, right? You now have much more chance of success. So, did you learn a lesson from it? Might be a difficult thing initially to do, but just admit it. What's the takeaway from all of this? Well, the pain you feel due to the mistake may be temporary, but the lessons that you learn will be valuable for the rest of your life and maybe the life of your children, your ancestors. Who knows? We're programmed by our families, our friends, our teachers, first 10 years of our life. I say this all the time. But also we're programmed with generations and generations of our family BS. Why not stand up today and take a stand and stop it? Put a break in that generational BS, that generational, somebody who has money is evil, somebody's idea of race, somebody's idea of sexuality, somebody's idea of men versus women, whatever. Start looking at that. Don't pass that down to the next generation. Why don't you make yourself, you're going to be the one who stops this, right? And who changes the information that gets passed down. And now you've put a break in your timeline, like Back to the Future, right? You now are changing the ending. You're changing the future of the story by doing that. The blame game is one game I guarantee you never win. And if you think you win it in the short term, you never win it long term. Stop blaming other people for your problems. Take the blame. Just remember, don't get too comfortable on the couch of self-pity. Playing the innocent victim isn't what it's not getting you brownie points in life. You are responsible for where you are. Things happen, I get it, but taking responsibility now is the most powerful thing you can do because it cuts you from the BS of your past. Just remember two things. If you don't remember anything else from today, remember two things that are so important in life. Respect yourself enough to have integrity, to admit your faults and learn from them. Value yourself enough to treat the mistake as a life lesson. Don't blame anyone for it, including yourself. Be kind and loving towards yourself. You take responsibility. You don't have to kick yourself. You know what I mean? You take responsibility. You don't take it like, and take it in and let it change you, and something you're gonna obsess over for years. No, you take responsibility and you let it go. It's a life lesson. No blame. Be kind and be loving towards yourself. There's just you. There's no other person in the history of the universe, ever was, ever will be, like you. That's why competition is stupid, because two people don't have the same life experiences, the same pluses and minuses, the same strengths and weaknesses. So competition never is good, because then there's a pie with 8 pieces and there's only so much. So instead of competition, what about creation? What about co-creation? What about creating the life that you want? You're not in competition with anyone but you, but the 1.0 version of you. You are now 2.0. So you're only in competition with yourself. Okay? Value yourself. Know that you're enough. Right? Stop blaming others, and I guarantee you, you will win at life. I am not the body. I'm not even the mind. See, I love it. I love it. It's so true. When you ask somebody, who are you? They say, I'm Mary Jones. Well, no, Mary Jones is a bunch of letters. Who are you? Well, I'm Bob Jones's wife. Well, what happens when Bob dies? Okay, I'm a 46-year-old woman. I'm 5 foot tall. I'm 110 pounds. Okay, who were you when you were a 10-year-old girl? Right? You are not your body. Everyone thinks, they put so much in their body as them. It's just part of you. It's part of the Trinity, the mind, body, soul. They all have to be running on, full cylinders to work. But, you're definitely not the body. So you remember that. Now, I'll be back again tomorrow, and we've got our new video, religion and spirituality, differences, what's the same. It's in editing right now. It'll be out in a day or two, I think. We have another Mind Power Minute tomorrow. I'm reading co-creation aspect, and a lot of simple things will get us much farther than probably. Absolutely. I think we are at a place now where even though things look like we are in the most cataclysmic place. What am I trying to say? Cataclysmic? cataclysmic, whatever. We're in a horrible place. It looks that way, but we're actually, so many more people are awakening. So we're actually in, we just got to tip that scale slightly in the right way, and we can change everything. By us awakening, people see us do it. They know they can do it. And I talked about this before, but it reminds me of the Roger Bannister story. The Roger Bannister was the first person ever to break the 4-minute mile, right? And up until him, this is, I think, the 40s or 50s, it had never been done since the beginning of history. And in fact, not only had no one ever done it, but they didn't think that it could be done. Doctors used to say, the heart would explode. The heart would actually explode, right? That it couldn't handle it. And it's just not true. So, but what happened? Roger Bannister believed it could be done. And so he started training that way. He started looking, into the future. He started becoming that person. He knew it was possible. He knew inside he could do it. And then what the greatest part of this story is not that Roger Bannister did it. I mean, that's great, right? And no one had ever done it until him. But the fact that when he did it, the next week somebody else did it. And then again and again and again. And now it's been done thousands of times. And that's because we as people, we need to see someone else do it. In order for us to believe it, we have to see it. So now that other people saw him do it, even though no one had ever done it and it was thought to be impossible, your eyes aren't lying. You've seen him do it. Now I know I can do it. So they started doing it. The problem is we all think, we'll believe it when you see it. And it's the other way. You will see it when you believe it. And the belief has to come first. Belief must come first in this scenario. Sometimes we need to see somebody else do it. And sometimes maybe you need to be that person. For the people in your family and your friends, you should be that person. And they'll see you do it and know it's possible. They'll see you transform and know they can do it. You don't have to be a movie star or fund a charity to make super amazing transformation in the world. All you've got to do is take control of your mind and your life. Care about other people. Help other people. Realize we're part of a collective and we're not separate. We are together. And together, we are universally powerful. We all have that inside of us. And that ability to harness that energy and direct it is what it's all about. That's what I've spent 35 years teaching. Because the most successful people in the world, they realize how to take their mind power, how to harness it, and how to focus it where it matters in their life. And what most people do is they have a million different things inside them that bothers them, that makes them feel good, whatever. The time they kiss the prettiest girl in school, right? You have that feeling. You want to keep it, so you put it inside. Your boyfriend breaks up with you, worst breakup ever. You don't want to deal with that, so you put it inside. And over your lifetime, that's what's happening. Good, bad, good, bad. You're putting it in. You don't want to deal with it if it's bad. You want to hold it and keep it if it's good. But we're overrun with that. And what happens? Every time something reminds you of that breakup, your boyfriend drove a red pickup. Now you see a red pickup, and what happens? All that emotion rushes back. All that life force energy rushes back into you. You get the same negative emotions. You feel exactly the same way. That is a red flag and a sign that you have something to work on. Don't look at those things as liabilities and problems. Look at those red flags as gifts, because they're showing you where you need to do the work. So that's what we do. When emotion is connected to thought, we put it away, it'll just keep coming back up until we work through it. You can't hold on to the good stuff, and you shouldn't try to get rid of the bad. And again, you're not pushing it away. When you say, I don't want to, I don't want the bad, you take it in. And it takes willpower to hold it in. And that's life force energy. So people have a million things in their life that they're holding inside. And each one of those things takes a little bit of life force. So every one of those things you work through, that life force energy returns to you. And you're able to direct it in a different area. So imagine if you're receiving back 2%, and you're taking it and you're diverting it where it matters. That is what successful people do that's different from everybody else. They understand how to prioritize. They don't do usually 10 things at once. They're able to focus. And that focus is something we never learn. They don't teach us that in school. They'll tell you to do it. You need to focus, but they don't tell you how. You need to learn that focus, intention, that is where it is. It isn't in wishing or daydreaming. You got to take action, but you also have to have intention. Because without that, without the belief first, and then the intention, you'll never get there. It becomes a daydream. It becomes something that you long over, but you'll never receive in your life. So work on that, right? There's so many things, but these are all good things to work on. It doesn't have to become a job. You know, if you're meditating and you feel like you've done enough for the day, then you stop. When it starts becoming, I've got to do this, it's not good. You know, ease up on yourself. Give yourself a break. You've got to be where you are now. Take responsibility. You got yourself here. You are going to get yourself to the end game, whatever that end game is for you. Okay? So just know that you can do this. Any of us can. I also want to remind you to join our Facebook community, because self-empowerment, what is that? It's taking control of our lives. It's letting go. It's setting goals. It's making positive choices. It's easy when you know how to do it. Our community, we're here for one reason. We're here to help you. There are tools, there are strategies, there are techniques, there are processes. The most successful people in the world have coaches and mentors because they understand that there are things, not everyone knows everything. The most important in life, there are the things that we know. There are the things we don't know. Like there are the things that we know. There are the things we know we don't know. Like I don't know how to water ski, but I know that. And most important of everything, we don't know what we don't know. There is so much out there. To try to make decisions from our limited amount of knowledge is ridiculous. That's where we're going in this group. We're going to that place. The things that a lot of people don't know. The strategies and the tips, the techniques, the processes to get you from A to B, to close the gap from where you are to where you want to go. So it's facebook.com/groups/students of self-empowerment. It's brentwebb.com. That's the website. If you want any information about personal coaching programs, any of my books or courses, go to brentwebb.com. Send me an email or a message on our community. This community is free. It's for everyone. You know, we're not trying to sell you something every other day. We're trying to teach you what you need to make this world a better place. And you do it by improving yourself first. So that's why we're here. We'd love to have you as a member. Invite your friends, invite your family. Facebook.com/groups/students of self-empowerment. So tomorrow I'll be back with a new episode of Life, not Life 101, with the My Power Minute. Also, we have that new video coming out for you as well. So I want you to go out. I want you to enjoy yourself today. And I want you to remember that you are enough, that you are everything that you need is inside you. There's nothing that you need to find outside. So searching in the outer world for what you need to make you happy is futile. You have to give it to yourself first. It comes from you. So remember, don't worry, be happy. And above all else, feel great. You're alive and you're well and you're here. And I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.